Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Total BS Podcast. Sunday night live stream. It's like Sunday Night Football, just a little bit better. How about you, Justin?
I am so excited for today's episode. We have two guests joining the Total BS Podcast. But in honor of Father's Day, Saul, I just have to ask you, what concert costs 45 cents?
What concert costs 45 cents?
Yes. 50 Cent featuring Nickelback. This is your dad joke brought to you by the Total BS Podcast.
Let's run it, man.
Your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just part of the program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You're not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us. Yo, your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just a part of this program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us.
And Justin, it's kind of apropos that I'm still laughing about the joke, I know, but we have been talking about our sound, or actually the sound that has been lended to us, I should say, by a group called MC2, who's doing some pretty cool hip hop things out there in San Antonio area. Long time ago in my past life, I was a drill sergeant, and one of the rappers in this group was one of my element leaders, and we worked together for about 9 weeks. And when I say work together, most of the time I was doing the instructing and he was doing the listening. We don't have that relationship anymore. It's more of a mutual based sound. And my man LQ is in the house from MC2. What's going on, Quan?
It's good. I'm good, man.
Hey, first of all, we got both Justin and I want to say thank you for you and Wheezy letting us use your sound. Wheezy, right? That's his name, or Sweezy?
It's Smeezy.
Smeezy, my bad. Okay. Damn, I knew I was going to screw it up. I said it 89 times today. I knew I was going to screw it up.
No. I count the days that people mess up his name. So I'm just like, yeah. Exactly.
Happy Father's Day to you, Saul. Having the most dad moment ever. Because I remember growing up listening to rap, and my dad was like, "Who's that little John Wayne guy that you're always listening to?"
I'll take the L on that one for sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, LQ, I think people don't understand, like, this brother's trying to get his master's degree right now at University of Texas San Antonio, correct?
Yeah.
And not only that, but obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. And are you in a journalism class going out to the cover, or are you working for an outlet going out to the cover some of the protests?
I was working for, so I keep my own blog. I keep my own blog steady, but I also do journalism for like just different magazines and stuff around here. So the recent one I was working with was the San Antonio Current. And so, I just do freelance journalism as well. If anyone wants an article, they want to submit it, I'll take the interview and knock it out.
Perfect. Yep. Justin?
I'm just, curious during this time right now, what's going through your mind? Because it seems like a lot of hip hop artists in the game are being creative. They're using this time to let all their emotions go in songs. Meek Mill just released a song. Lil Baby released a song last week, which I thought was terrific. For you being in this industry and everything that's going on, what's going through your mind?
Everything that's going on everyone else's, man. We're actually, believe it or not, same thing, like you just called it. So we're working on an album, a small project right now called Paramount. And what it is it's addressing everything that's going on right now, and like our take on it, and especially coming from perspectives of veterans. And then now you got veterans in the hip hop game. It's like we're really, expanding on the ideas and the understandings of what we've been through, our experiences, and we're gonna go on it. So right now we have 4 songs created. They should be done by next week, and if I'm not mistaken, we're gonna release it free at first, so it's gonna be on like Bandcamp and SoundCloud, and then later on, we'll just put it up on Spotify and things like that.
Well, speaking of new albums, you guys just dropped one a little bit ago. Soul Physics. Is about 9 tracks on there, correct?
Oh, Soul Physics. I thought you meant Venus.
I'm sorry, Venus. You're right. It's Venus. My bad.
Yeah.
Again, my bad. Yeah, Venus.
Nah.
Tell the people, what are you guys trying to model your sound after? If there was a particular sound out there, because it's a little bit different, right? You got a little, every time I hear it, I think a little D'Angelo vibe. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like just
yeah.
kind of, a little brown sugar
It's
kind of thing going on. You know what I mean?
what is
And then
that? What is this?
and then the
There it is,
flow.
right there. Yeah,
There it is. See, there it is. You know what I mean? And then the flow comes in, and you just like you kind of caught off guard because you're like, oh, this is a nice smooth sound, and the beat is kicking, and then you guys come in with the flow, and it just sounds really good.
I appreciate that, man. I think the biggest inspiration for us has been uh the Soulquarians. It's a group, and it's not like an official group, but back in early 2000s, they called themselves the Soulquarians. And what it was is crazy that you mentioned it is D'Angelo, it was Erica Badu, it was Common. My all-time favorite artist is Common. It's a little biased being from Chicago, but yeah, it was all them dudes. Questlove from the Roots, Black Thought, Most Def, and Talib Kweli, like heavy hitters, and they all started making music together at this place called Electric Lady in New York. And they had one main producer, which was Jay Dilla. And I got like a Jay Dilla shrine up here because he's the dopest producer to ever live. But that's pretty, like, his sounds and his production really gave us a sense of what we like, what we want to do. Because at the time we started, it was just industry sounds. We weren't making like any like trap stuff. We were just making like more soulful things. And yeah, that was like the biggest inspiration for us as writers, and also just the sound. And now it's just everywhere. It's everywhere. We doing trap beats, we doing whatever now. It's like it's so much fun because we're right now, since we released the album, we talked about it and we were like, bro, and sorry he couldn't be here. He had his daughter Father's Day. So
It's all good. Yeah.
We just started hopping on everybody's song. So it's a bunch of songs getting ready to come out with like features and stuff on it that, with sounds that we haven't done before.
Yeah. Well, that's dope. Well, we won't tease the people anymore. We'll give them a little taste of that sound. How about we do that? This is MC Squared Fallback featuring Solus. And you guys tell me what you guys think. This is a Fallback by Solus. Hey, that's exactly what I'm talking about right there, man. That's a little taste of what this young man has to offer in MC Squared and Smeezy. There we go. What I also love about it is you guys aren't afraid to tackle some of the issues or even the connection between people. I think a lot of times, we shy away from the intimacy that we sometimes have in relationships, and you guys dive into that quite a bit with your music. Also, I love the visuals in the background, the colors with the lights. Me being in digital media, like I can appreciate how much time and effort goes into that stuff. Hey, kudos to you, man.
I commend that, and I'm the same way. My undergrad was in communications, and so doing all this stuff, man, and like actually seeing what really draws people to media, certain types and certain forms of media. Yeah, it's fun being able to use that, but use it in a music setting. Like,
that's dope. That's dope.
LQ, I'm curious. During a global pandemic, how do you perform? How do you book shows? I mean, what's kind of the plan for MC Square right now during a global pandemic?
Right now, our current plan is create and network as much as possible. So it's we should have been on top of it as far as being more visual and like getting more visual content out there. And so this definitely delayed a lot of that. But as of right now, since we really can't do that too much, we're just creating. We're working on a new album. To be honest, we're actually working on 3 projects simultaneously right now. The Paramount album that I just told you about, it just came about a couple weeks ago because of all of the protests and everything that's going on. But we ended up doing a show at a place out here called The Brick at Blue Star. We have a virtual show getting ready to come out, hopefully here in about a week or so. We have a 30-minute set. It's all virtual, so it was dope. We were able to just go into the warehouse and just gear up and just jam out with the band. And so that's what a lot of cats are doing right now, a lot of virtual shows. We're going to have a versus battle with one of the crews that we really like out here named Supreme Innovation. That's going to be July 1st. And probably a live listening party, because we were going to have a live listening party, but literally the day we scheduled it was the day that everybody did the blackout online.
Oh,
and so it was crazy. So we were just like, all right, but we didn't know that was going to be the case. So we just like, hey, we're not going to do this. We're going to postpone it. The album, it released the next day. And it's still been good. It's been really good. Venus, people really liked it. People really like it so far. And I think we haven't set a date yet, but we're still going to do a listening, like a virtual listening and like Q&A session and stuff like that pretty soon.
Love it.
That's dope. Hey, it was just brought to my attention that some of you guys could not hear the sound from the video that was playing. My apologies, but that's why you got to download the podcast, because we'll put the music in and it's like you didn't even miss a beat. There's your dad joke for the night. There you go. Hey, LQ, man. Hey, man. I love you, man, and I love the passion in which you guys do your work and all the stuff that you've been doing. Not only privately with music, but also still striving to get that master's degree. Education is everything nowadays. And then the work that you've been doing to try and put out everybody's their story, especially when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement and the protests and things of that nature. So I'm blessed to know you, my friend, and thank you so much for coming on and joining us tonight.
Definitely, thank you guys. I'm gonna keep tuning in. I'm about to listen. I'm about to watch this because I want to know. I want to see the "Don't Be That Guy" segment. So
there you go. That's Luis LQ Iverson joining us from MC Squared with his man Smeezy, helping him kick these nice rhymes, man, and nice flow to everything that they do. So appreciate you again, brother.
Thanks, LQ.
Definitely. Have a good.
All right. Hey, it's just good to come across and see what everybody has when it comes to talent. You know, there's so much talent out there in the world. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Our next guest is probably going to come on and say he does not have talent, but it's complete BS. Because my man, I'm full of them tonight. I don't know what's going on, man. But let me tell you a little bit about this guy. His name's Greg Esposito, and he knows a little bit about everything. I mean, if you've ever had the chance to watch his stream, and you know, he does a Sun-centric show with his buddy Dave King and company, and he does a great job. But I wanted to bring him on because I wanted him to talk about more than just Sun stuff. So here he is, Mr. Greg Esposito. What's up, Espo?
Shouldn't you have called it total BS? Don't you know how this branding? This
is why I reached out to
learning.
my man right here, because he's like, hey, you know, I would have gone with this way. I'm like, okay. So,
but by the way, Justin, I rocked the Tucson Roadrunners jersey just for you, my friend.
You're the man. I love it.
This was my Father's Day gift, and I thought you'd get a kick out of it, so I thought I'd bring it to the program.
What number is it?
There's no number on the back. It's nameless. It's
still a kick-ass jersey.
Yeah, I'm a huge nerd with random jerseys like this. So
are you the type of dude that bashes other people for wearing their own name on their jersey?
No, if you want to do that, do it. I got a Cardinals jersey with my own. It's actually less weird than wearing the name and number of a guy that's younger than you playing on the team. That's weird to me too. You know, like I can still wear Larry Fitzgerald because we're the same age basically, and I've watched him since college when I was in college, so I'm okay with that. But anybody else, like my wife wants to get me a Kyler Murray jersey, and I'm like, that's just a little weird. Like I'm almost old enough to be that guy's dad. Like just get no name or my own name on the back. I'll be that guy.
There you go. I appreciate that point of view, because I don't wear anybody's jersey because I'm tired of replacing my jerseys all the time, man. I'm just not about that life. So you know what? Bookman 7 for basketball, Bookman 32 for football. We're good. Peace out.
Just get the throwbacks. I mean, that's the way. Like my other gift for Father's Day was a Shane Doan Kachina Coyotes jersey, and it's like, well, Shane Doan's always going to be synonymous with the Coyotes, so you can't go wrong there. Throwbacks are your own name, or are the way I'm going to stick for a while. I think.
There you go. Hey, well, we brought you on because we wanted to talk about some crazy stuff, starting with Mr. Kyrie Irving, obviously, but obviously, everybody has a perspective on Mr. Kyrie Irving. It's hard to pinpoint where this guy is coming from, and I think that's what everybody's issue is right now. They don't know what is really in his heart. Is it social justice? Is it COVID? Is it not social justice? Is it for personal reasons? Is it for the league reasons? Is he trying to sabotage? Is he not trying to sabotage? It's all over the place. What's your take on Mr. Kyrie Irving right now?
I don't think he's trying to sabotage the league. I think he's a very smart guy that can be misguided at times from what we've been able to tell. And I mean, none of us actually know him. And so obviously that clouds the perception. We're only hearing leaked information from supposed phone calls, but everything I've heard is he's a very intelligent guy. He thinks outside the box, obviously. We can't tell if he's truthful about thinking the earth's flat or not. Like there's all sorts of things with Kyrie, but in this situation, I tend to believe it really is to him about social justice, probably some concerns that the league and the Players Association, for that matter, are more concerned about the money than health, safety, and social justice, which probably is in part true. I mean, this comes down to if there weren't billions of dollars on the line, neither side probably cares all that much to go play basketball, all things considered in the world right now. So I think he's probably coming from the right kind of place and going about it the wrong kind of way, right? I get that we're in a player empowerment era. I'm all for that. I think players should very much be able to speak their minds, be able to put forward causes that are important to them. I didn't quite understand we can go do this on our own, right? We're all either in media or have been in media, and we all know the guy that goes, well, I could just leave this media company and go out and venture on my own and do this pretty easily. And we all know the answer is no, you can't. It's not that easy. It's very difficult to do this. And it's nice to have somebody else putting all the financial, taking all the financial risk on their end. So the whole players could start a league thing, we heard it back during the last lockout in 2011. That was just a very weird time to bring that up, and we've heard varying things about how true that was or how serious that comment was. That was the weirdest thing to me. I am all for let's put Black Lives Matter front and center in this relaunch in the Orlando bubble. I'm all for put it on the court. Use the eyes that you're going to have on this restart for the NBA to promote social justice in any way possible that you can. And I'm all for these players trying to make sure that this is the safest way to go about restarting a league. But where Kyrie lost me was the let's go start our own league, forget the owners, if that actually happened.
Yeah, that didn't work out so hot for the XFL. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Go ahead, Justin.
Which Game of Zones predicted, by the way?
Yes.
Big shout out to our guy, Game of Zones.
That was one of my favorite things about this whole thing is literally they stole the Simpsons shtick of predicting the future through cartoon. And I'm here for it. It was pretty entertaining.
But this bubble system that they're going to have in place, 22 teams isolated in Orlando. Espo, what do you see as the biggest hurdle or the biggest cons doing this way?
I'll give you a hint. Go ahead.
Look, this is probably the safest we've heard of any sport, with the exception hockey's trying to do a very similar thing. But this is probably the safest concept we've heard about restarting a league. MLB may be second safest because they don't look like they're actually going to play, not because they don't want to, because they can't get out of their own damn way. But when you look at it, football, the NFL, college football, they're all just acting as if we're just going to do this the same way we always have, and it's going to work out fine, which we're seeing as these colleges open isn't necessarily going to be the case. We're seeing lots of positive tests. The bubble seems to be the one way you might be able to pull this off without having to start and stop multiple times because of illness.
But I'm gonna just interject for a second.
Yeah.
Like, I completely understand where you're coming from, right? I think the other thing that gets lost in this is the fact that you have this bubble scenario, then they're going to end the season, and then a month and a half later start season number 2 somehow, or maybe even 2 months later. But still, 2 months isn't enough to come up with a different plan, right?
But what would it be? I mean, in the end, it'd be 9 months without playing any organized basketball isn't a great way to go about it either. There's no perfect way to handle this, right?
Yeah.
There is no perfect way to finish the season that was put on hiatus and then start the next season in a reasonable time near where they started before. I still think they don't start the next season until the end of December. I just don't see them starting. Yeah, I just don't see them starting at the beginning of December. But those are all things that they'll still negotiate with the players. This isn't all set in stone. There's a lot of wiggle room here. But if we're just talking about trying to complete the 2019-2020 season, the bubble's probably the closest you're going to get to safe, but it still isn't, because you're going to have players that may leave, and it does not sound like, as much as they want this to be a lockdown situation, it sounds like there's going to be some leeway here, and you're still going to have elements that aren't going to be completely controllable. The Disney staff isn't going to be quarantined on the premise. They're going to be able to come and go. So something may come in with that. We still don't know how older coaches are going to be handled in this situation. Guys like the Mike D'Antonis and the Greg Popoviches, the Alvin Gentrys, who are in that high risk category just based on age. There's so many what ifs still going on, and I'm sure they're still trying to figure out a lot of this. We're not in the clear as to them actually playing basketball yet. There's a plan, but a lot can change, especially they're heading into Florida, which I believe the last I heard, and I'm not an epidemiologist, so I don't know everything, but I think it was 10% a positive rate over the last week in Florida. So you're heading into an area that is one of the higher higher risk areas in the country right now. So that's not perfect either. So there's just a lot of question marks still.
I'm going to throw this question out to both of you. When is there, let me just say that, is there ever a scenario where every sports league just says, you know what, if it happens, it happens?
Oh, Espo, go ahead.
Man, I mean, apparently I've dropped a bomb.
Okay. Honestly, I think we're kind of there in some ways. I think that's the NFL's attitude as of right now. That may change as they get into training camps and stuff, and if you see a lot of positive tests, that may.
I mean, you're already starting to see them. Tampa Bay.
Yeah, true. Tampa Bay. You had Ezekiel Elliott and a few other Cowboys. But how is the NFL going to react? I mean, they kind of scoffed at the thought that Dr. Fauci said they have to play in a bubble if they're going to want to play. They kind of scoffed at that already. So they may be the sport that just says, you know what? You sign the waiver, you know the risks. We're just going to go out and play, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
We may be at that point, and it's we are in uncharted territory. And I wonder if our desire for entertainment, these leagues' desires for money, is going to just put a lot of people in danger just simply because of those two factors. And maybe all sides are being selfish when it comes to it. But I like what the NBA is doing. They're saying, if you don't want to play because you're concerned about health, we're not forcing you. And you're not going to be punished if you don't play. I hope that's the approach other leagues take. It sounds like baseball is looking at a similar approach if they actually reach an agreement. I hope that's what the NFL does, because if you're forcing guys into this, that's an even more bizarre situation, and it crosses all sorts of lines.
And the first person I think of when I hear the NBA just saying, well, if you get it, you get it, I think of Karl Anthony Towns. His own mother passed away from COVID-19. So I couldn't imagine being in Cat's position and listening to the commissioner, which I don't think Adam Silver would ever say that. But if the NBA were to have this mindset of, listen, you sign this piece of paper, if you get COVID-19, you're going to go into a 14-day quarantine, and that's going to be it. To me, it just seems a little reckless and maybe a little insensitive to maybe some people who have been affected by COVID-19, like Karl Anthony Towns, because I don't think it's the players that are worried about catching the virus. I think they're worried about possibly infecting their loved ones, whether it's their parents or maybe their head coach, who's a little bit on the older side. So like you said, Espo, I agree with you. I don't think there's any perfect way to go about this, but I honestly don't know what's going to happen next.
No, look, the only perfect way is to wait for there to be a vaccine. And until then, there's no perfect way. And the one thing that worries me is, the attitude and the assumption based on everything we know is young, healthy athletes, the likelihood that any of them get severely ill is slim. But it's just going to take one guy for that to turn south in this, and it changes the entire dynamic. If one guy gets seriously ill and close, or God forbid passes away from this, it's going to grind everything to a halt, and rightfully so. Because sure, it's a slim statistical possibility that somebody in that age range with good health winds up having something happen, but it's still a possibility, and that's the danger. That's the reality of it, and it's a risk that I think we're going to see a lot of these leagues take.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's just a crazy series of events that we're trying to navigate, but let's go to a lighter subject.
Please,
that's baseball.
much lighter. Yeah.
Much lighter. I mean, what I think is so ironic is that we have been discussing baseball in terms of labor negotiations this entire time, almost as if COVID didn't even exist anymore. And then this week, 8 Philadelphia Phillies get it. They got to shut down Florida and Arizona spring training sites. And it's like, oh yeah, we've been bickering over this, and we completely forgot about this, the elephant in the room, which is the reason why we had to go through labor negotiations in the first place and delay everything. Hey, Justin, real quick, have you changed your perspective on Major League Baseball, and do you think they will come to an agreement soon? And if so, do you think we're going to see baseball this year at all?
No, I really don't, because we are continuing to test more athletes, more people. And I think the more positive cases come up, there's going to be a lot of concern about COVID-19. You mentioned Arizona, Florida, Texas. Those are areas where it's spiking right now. And I just think that with athletes testing, more positive tests, the leagues are going to look at everything and say, look, we need to just figure out a way to get through all of this and make sure that we don't have any positive tests moving forward, because this is still a serious issue. But then you also have the labor talks, like you just said. Honestly, I was looking at, I know we talked about this in the past. I thought July 4th was going to be a deadline for whether or not we're going to get baseball. And it just seems like the more we get closer to that date, the less likely we're going to get baseball back. My perception of baseball hasn't changed. I still think it's the same, but yeah, I don't think we're getting baseball back.
Espo?
Well, this is a league that's never been able to get out of its own way, especially when it comes to labor disputes. I mean, they've lived off of the tradition and those people that grew up, our parents' generation, that baseball was kind of the end all be all in this country. Well, our generation, and Justin, I think you might be a little younger than me, but looking at that 94 strike, I mean, I fell in love with basketball around that time and never thought twice about baseball. Do I enjoy the Diamondbacks? Sure, but basketball became my sports obsession simply because of that. In that mid-early 90s, basketball had some of the greatest athletes, some of the greatest series, and baseball was fighting over dollars and cents. And we're back there again, and you're not gaining fans, you're bleeding fans in the way baseball handles these kind of things. And we're in the middle of a pandemic, and millionaires and billionaires can't go, you know what? Let's decide on something just because it's right for the game, and we can have this fight next year when the labor agreement, the CBA, comes up. But let's put that aside for the betterment of all of us, and because there's something much bigger going on right now in the country than anything else that we could argue about. And they didn't think that way. They were the sport that should have been the first out of the gates, should have had the easiest road to trying to be the safest, because the sport is outside. There's not contact between players, and yet they found a way to put enough impediments in front of them that they come out of this looking like the worst league of all of them.
And the season hadn't even started yet when all this happened. They were in the middle of spring training. They decided to shut everything down. Meanwhile, basketball, the NBA, is approaching playoffs, and they're still figuring out ways, and they're looking like they're more likely to come back to the season. And that's the difference right there between the NBA and the MLB. The NBA just seems to be all about finding the best solution. Mm-hmm. Adam Silver, that's why I always applaud Adam Silver, and I think he's the best commissioner in professional sports, because he is all about finding the right solutions and doing it the right way. And Major League Baseball, once again, falls short.
Well,
go ahead.
I think Adam Silver is one of the few commissioners that doesn't act as if he reports to the owners. He acts as if he is the guardian of the game and trying to bridge the gap between owners and players. And that should be the commissioner's mindset. I get it that the owners technically hire you, but they're hiring you to be the liaison between the two and figure out how to guide the sport. Because if it was left up to owners and players, all we would see is the kind of labor strife we see in baseball. So that's why you need a strong commissioner. Rob Manfred has proven he's not the guy for baseball.
I mean, that's perfectly said. That's exactly the reason, Hey, let's move on to a silly topic, but also kind of appropriate. Espo, you're a dad. I'm a dad. And Justin is not a dad.
I'm a dog dad.
At least that we know of. But Justin put it out there on the Total BS Twitter page, who is the greatest dad in all of movie history? And there was a lot of good comments. Furious Styles was a popular one from Justin. I can't remember who the hell I said. Oh no, I said Chevy Chase from National Lampoon's Vacation. My man went all the way from coast to coast, and then even put a dead body on the top of his roof just to get to Wally World. Like, my man, that's dedication. So,
and took a security guard hostage so his family could get into the theme park. So that's going above and beyond there.
But Espo, who's your favorite dad of all time?
Oh, if we're talking best dad, and this might get a little dark, but I think Thomas Wayne from Batman, right? We've only ever seen him in one scene in any of the Batman films, and it's him stepping in front of a bullet to try to protect his wife and his child. All right. So I give Thomas Wayne the nod here. And without him doing that, we don't get Batman. So I think Thomas Wayne, there's not more you can do than sacrifice yourself for your child. That would make you a quality dad. I know we were trying to go lighthearted, but to me, when you look at it, it's tough to argue against that, because that's the only scene we've ever seen him in. So that and giving fatherly advice in flashbacks. So that's all I got with that.
I would love to know why you picked Furious Styles there, Justin.
He's so awesome, man. He's so awesome. Okay, so Furious Styles is a single father, right? He could have easily just decided, you know what? I'm not going to raise my son.
Hey, we got a write-in vote. We got a write-in vote. Ready?
Yes,
Boom.
sir. Yes, sir.
There we go.
Mic drop. Gerald Spears, the GOAT. That is the GOAT. But I think, Furious Styles, and a lot of his lessons, it wasn't very typical dad. A lot of his one-liners, like I remember one of my favorite lines from Boys in the Hood, and anytime I hear someone say you're going to learn the hard way, I always think of Furious Styles talking to Cuba Gooding Jr. about having sex and the possibility of having a kid and becoming a father at an early age. And he says, I don't know why you insist on learning the hard way, Trey, but you're going to learn. Oh, yeah. You're going to learn.
Yes, sir.
And also, a legendary line that he said, it takes any man with a, to make a baby, but it takes a real man to raise his children. And that's why Furious Styles, to me, is the greatest dad in movie history. Now, if we're talking about TV history, there's a number of guys that you can bring up. Like Philip Banks.
Philip Banks. There you go. Rest in peace, Uncle Phil.
Philip Banks is a terrific father. And the reason why I have him in the GOAT category is because he took in a guy who's not even blood related. Because remember, Will was related to Aunt Viv. So there's no blood relation whatsoever, but he took in his nephew and took him in as one of his own. And that's why Uncle Phil is the GOAT father of TV history.
And by the third season, it wasn't even the same Aunt Viv. So they weren't even related by that point, right?
Yeah.
I bet you didn't know we were going to break down Fresh Prince of Bel-Air like that, right?
Hey, I love it. But I wonder, was Uncle Phil that great of a dad? Because when you look at Carlton, there and his actual kids, he did a better job raising Will, I think, than he did his own kids there.
Well, I think he probably focused less on Carlton and Ashley and Hillary, just because he felt like maybe they were squared away. Maybe Hillary not so much, but the other two for sure. But Will came in as such a wild card that he had to focus all his efforts on him, and it paid off.
And when Will's father came back during the TV show and left at the end because he all of a sudden had a job to do and they couldn't go on this cross-country trip. When Will talked about, I didn't need him then, I don't need him now, and he started breaking down crying, who was there to scoop up Will and hug him and let him know that you're a great man? Uncle Phil.
That right there, in any comedy series, that was probably the most dramatic and best scene that I've ever witnessed, because you just kind of don't expect it out of a show like that to be that serious and that like heart-wrenching, and then all of a sudden, like, I just every time I see it, I'm like Oh god, man. You know, I'm just crying, you know what I mean? Like a baby, you know, because I'm like, why don't you love Will, man? Will's cool, man. You know?
How come he don't want me, man?
Yeah.
That's true. I'm a Phil Dunphy from Modern Family, but only because my style of parenting is just really bad jokes, and my 3-year-old daughter just looks at me like I'm embarrassed by you, Dad. So that's the way I roll. But
Espo, real quick, I know you're chock full of dad jokes. So
God.
if you have any off the top of your head that you'd like to share, feel free in honor of Father's Day.
A man walks into a bar. Ouch. That gets my 3-year-old every time for no good reason. You can't put a guy. Dad jokes are in the moment, and you just say it's stupid. It's not pre-written kind of jokes. It's just dumb commentary that goes along to embarrass your kids. That's the true art of the dad joke.
Very true. Very true, my friend. That is Greg Esposito joining us today, talking about a whole bunch of just random stuff, NBA, baseball, and Uncle Phil. There we go. That's a well-rounded show. Hey, happy Father's Day to you, my man, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. Happy Father's Day to both of you. I do count dogs as being a dad, so thank you. Thank you, Justin, for having me, and happy Father's Day to you.
No, thanks, Espo. Appreciate it.
That's Greg Esposito joining us on the Total BS podcast today. Oh, man. Whew, that was a lot we just got into. You know, I think the cool thing about both of our guests today is that they're so different, right? They come from different they're covering different things, right? One's in hip hop and rap, and also a writer and trying to get his voice out there. Same thing with Espo. Just doing his MBA thing. He also does a lot of digital media, which is right up my alley as well. So, it's a cool, well-rounded podcast today. There we go.
Love it. I love it. Espo was great. LQ was great. And is his last name Iverson?
Iverson. Yep.
Man, that's such a great last name.
It's a GOAT last name for sure.
Yeah. He's like, I always wondered, like, what it'd be like to share a same last name with like a great athlete, especially if they're a favorite team that you like, because you could literally just buy their jersey all the time, and it's like a custom-made jersey, which I think is great. But like you said, Saul, different backgrounds, different perspective on a lot of things, and that's what the Total BS podcast is all about. Those two guests is what this show is about: some music, some sports, having fun, sharing some laughs, having good dialogue. That's what it's all about. For sure, and. I want to talk about one more thing, and I'm going to try and pull it up while we're doing this. But Jamie Foxx. Oh, yes.
And, Jamie Foxx is in the middle of getting yoked up, right? He's getting yoked up for a possible, well, it is a movie where he plays Mike Tyson, a biopic. And he talks about a scene at the beginning of the movie. Unfortunately, we don't have that, but I did come across some Mike Tyson footage, and I don't know. First of all, I don't know why Mike Tyson is getting back into the rhythm of everything again, but the dude looks fierce, right? He looks legit. If here, I got you right here.
Let's go. We see that hype outside, right from the house.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Did you see that dude?
That dude is yoked, and he's 53 years old.
Dude, insane.
Insane. And you know what? All you saw was a glimpse of his body. You didn't see him working the bags and sparring with his trainer. Yep. Even in his mid-50s, I would never fight Mike Tyson ever. You know what? I would never. Mike Tyson could be 70 years old, and I still wouldn't want to smoke, because Mike Tyson is that guy. He is so deadly with his hands, and I'm curious as to why he's trying to fight, because you always heard why he stepped away from boxing. And he has this podcast with Eben Britton, who used to play in the NFL. It's called Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. And he's always talked about how he was a monster when he was boxing. He would always say, like, I'm a monster. I was a monster. I just battled so many demons. I just had all this aggression, and I didn't recognize myself.
Yeah, that was a good impression there.
So Mike Tyson looked back at his life and saw the kind of person that he was. And then he took DMT, which is like this venom or poison that you can get off the back of a frog or a toad in the Sonoran Desert. You smoke it in. Apparently you have like this vision quest and you become this totally different person. And this toad figure essentially becomes like this god in your life. And Mike Tyson has talked about that a number of times. And he's become this very peaceful, very woke, just a different Mike Tyson than when we saw during his boxing days. And I'm interested to see how much Jamie Foxx goes into later in Mike Tyson's life. But yeah, Mike Tyson's still in his mid-50s. I don't want to fight him.
Yo, for real. No, you know, growing up, that was the $1 million question, right? Would you fight Mike Tyson for $1 million, or would you take one punch from Mike Tyson for $1 million?
I would.
To this day, I would say hell no.
I would.
That dude crosses me one time across my face. I might have $1 million, sure, but 990,000 of it is going to my freaking wheelchair because I have nothing else. Because I got nothing else. Like, he is taking your head straight up off your neck. So
it's not going to cost that much.
Man, insurance premiums are high as hell, right? But you know, moving along to you know, our everybody's favorite topic. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. You sent me one today, and I think it's apropos that we had Luis or LQ on at the beginning because he's a hip hop guy, and I would venture to say that Mr. Iverson, would never, ever be Justin Spears's "Don't Be That Guy" this week. Here it is.
Make you want to slap your mama. Pop Christo's got the best motherfucking gyros you ever ate in your life. So good. Make one think to you got to have Peters. Pop Christo Peters. They got everything. I'm gonna just give you a rundown of some of my favorites. They got tzatziki. Hold on. Octopi tequila. Well, whatever. But it's good. Abolamano soup. Copper pizza. And they got wine too. I'm telling you, come on down to Papa Christo's. You can't even pronounce the food.
So for those that who are wondering who that is Ja Rule, former famous rapper. Well, I mean, he's still, you know, famous now because he's Ja Rule. But I mean,
oh yeah, he's fire. He's fire.
Fire.
He's famous. Fire Festival famous. There you go.
And I know Fire Festival famous and Dave Chappelle famous because anytime I hear Ja Rule's name, I think about the skit when Dave Chappelle was saying we need to stop worshiping celebrities and their opinions. I remember during 9/11, I turned on MTV and the news was on, and they said, "Well, let's bring on Ja Rule to hear his thoughts on 9/11." And Dave Chappelle's like, he's like, I don't care what Ja Rule has to say. I'm scared half to death. I don't want to dance. So
yeah, for real.
Next time there's a big event or we need a celebrity's opinion, I'm just gonna say, where is Ja? We need Ja Rule. But Ja Rule, that was like a celebrity show off. I don't know why he did that commercial for
must be hurting for money or something.
A Greek restaurant. But another reason why Ja Rule is "Don't Be That Guy," there's a video going around the internet of him at a private house party. So apparently you can book Ja Rule to come out, perform at one of your house parties. He's I guess a pretty big rapper, so you want him to perform. Well, he was at a house party this past weekend. I don't think that's following the CDC guidelines for social distancing. So Ja Rule doing live events at a house party where there was about 20 to 30 people. Yeah, you're my "Don't Be That Guy" for this week.
Oh my gosh. Well, my "Don't Be That Guy" comes at the hands of fear. There's a gentleman out there, and this is a clip from 2016, but I just had to bring it back. This dude jumps out of an airplane with no parachute, hoping to land in the net. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, here you go.
Skydiver Luke Akins. He does not have a parachute, and he's 25,000 feet high. He's got some friends, and now he doesn't. He has to hit the net.
It had us riveted.
I mean, I mean, yo.
That gave me anxiety.
I mean, I'm like, first of all, here's my question: did everybody else have a parachute? They had to have, right?
Yeah.
And they were just guiding him just in case. But still, like no parachute. Like I'm solo in this, and I hope I hit this net right because if I don't, that's deuces.
That's it.
That's
it for me.
Yeah, no, don't be that guy. Don't. No, I'm good.
Saul, would you ever go skydiving?
I had an opportunity to once, and no. I think I might. I would have to have the right kind of persuasion.
What would be the persuasion?
Ooh, I don't know, man. It would have to be a better.
I don't want to know.
Estella knows. Oh, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, babe. I'm just joking around. Oh man, I might pay for that on Father's Day. It's Father's Day. I can say whatever I want right now. I'm good.
Exactly.
So,
it's your day.
Hey, speaking of which, man, major shout out to all the fathers out there today. I know it's not ideal to do a live stream because you're busy with your family and whatnot, but we're going to keep it consistent no matter what, and that's why we did this today. And so to all the fathers out there doing your thing, appreciate you. Hey, and to you, Justin, his dad unfortunately passed away. This is the second Father's Day without him. But what's so great about this is that you always get to remember the good things about your dad, he was such a kind gentleman and an impressive man. I wish I would have been able to hang around him just a little bit more. I only had a few opportunities to meet him, and I think that goes for even your brother who now has a kid, and he's taking on those same ideals that he had from your dad and passing them on to his now daughter. So it's just a beautiful thing all the way around. The legacy never dies; it just lives on between you guys, and that's what I try to do with my kids. And all the good fathers out there, you're doing that for yours, and I can't thank you guys enough for doing what you do.
And like you said, the legacy never dies. There are so many things that you can learn from your father, especially being a man. You learn so many different things from your dad. And I was so fortunate enough to have a dad who was different. My dad grew up in Carson, California, which is literally right next to Compton. He didn't go to college after high school. He graduated, started working for the federal government, and then we moved out here to Tucson, Arizona. But my dad was always this kind of, rugged street guy but he had such a crazy work ethic. And the reason why I'm such a hard worker is because I saw how my parents always got up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. And, I never understood how my dad was always available to me. He would work 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, but he still found a way to make it to all my football practices. He made sure that I had a life that he didn't have. And, there are so many isms that, you learn from your dad. Like one of my favorite ones is, he said it when we were cleaning his truck, and it was during monsoon season. So it was actually starting to sprinkle. It was sprinkling as we're wiping the truck. And I said, Dad, it's going to rain. Like, we never should have washed your truck. And he said, along the lines, I'm not going to say it's on here specifically because I want to keep it a little G-rated, but pretty much said, why clean yourself when you know you're going to defecate again? Or if I always said, but Dad, if this, if that, if, and he say, yeah, but if my aunt had a mustache, then she'd be my uncle.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So, my dad had so many isms, and, he was such a positive influence in not only my life, but my brother's life. And, anyone that he encountered, they always loved and respected my dad. And, Father's Day is always tough. And, my birthday is the 4th of July. My dad's birthday is also on the 4th of July. So, birthdays, Father's Days,
damn,
it's always tough. But you know what? I have so many great memories of my father, and I will continue to carry on his legacy. And, I know my dad's not the only one. I know there are so many amazing fathers out there who just love their kids, whether it's, a son, whether you have daughters. My brother loves his daughter. We come from a family of boys, and it's so great to see my brother become a girl dad. You know, everybody talked about Kobe Bryant and how he should have a boy so they can continue on the legacy. But Kobe loved being a girl dad and having 4 daughters. So
for sure,
shout out to all the dads out there. Happy Father's Day to all of you, and thank you for being you.
For sure. You know, you couldn't have said it any better. You know, happy Father's Day to everybody out there. And that wraps up the show. Another episode of the Total BS podcast in the books. You know, I think this is our 14th episode. 14th. Yeah, that was kind of quick, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like just the other day we were talking about The Last Dance, and now that feels like it was a decade ago.
That was only a month ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Crazy.
Felt like it was longer.
Yeah, it did. This whole COVID thing, it's felt like it's been just a long, epic poem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm on the Odyssey as we speak right now. So, anyway.
But, you know, we're going to have a ton more podcasts coming your way because quarantine, Saul's home, I home. We're going to be pumping out a bunch of podcasts. We have our one in the middle of the week, which will be coming out on Thursday. So make sure you subscribe to the Total BS podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram as well.
There you go. And till we see you next time, peace.
Your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just part of the program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You're not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us. Yo, your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just a part of this program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us.